I know you see the title. I know. I promise you, this isn't a clickbait video. This isn't a video to grasp your attention and make you sit around deeply and reflect on your life. I promise you that is not the case at all. More importantly, it's just a video of speaking truth. I think what we have to understand as people is that in life we're going to go through phases. We're going to go through phases where we're trying to better understand ourselves and, more importantly, better understand the reasons of why we exist today. There's a truth that I have faced over the past couple of weeks that has been hard to grasp. As I mentioned in many of my videos before, I do think that we have an influence on creating our reality. I think the struggle is finding the time to do those things in a way that is beneficial for the world around us. I think I hit a period of self reflection where I've learned a lot of my desires is driven in self and insecurity, which is a newfound thing. Um, I am somebody that takes pride in the work that I do. I take pride in trying to find ways to connect with people, constantly seeking for deeper connections and meaning in the world around us. And I've learned that my constant search has led me down a darker rabbit hole, a darker path of constantly seeking. And unfortunately, as much as I am a believer of seeking, there is a truth that seeking for self leads down a road of unlimited dark paths, give or take. And within the next 60 days, I'll be releasing my second self help book titled Renew, which I'm super excited to present to you all today. And as I've been in a state of reflection of, figuring out the ultimate rollout for the book, I've discovered that why am I trying to create a rollout for you to buy something that is important to me? I think that people will find value in whatever it is that this book presents. I spent a lot of time on it. I spent a lot of time reflecting. I spent a lot of time praying on it, trying to find the right words to hopefully for you to resonate with it. But as the person who writes it and to be labeled as an author, and people have asked me questions on what it's like to be an author and write books, I've learned that I've struggled with that concept. I often tell my friends that sometimes when I write, it doesn't feel like I'm writing at all. It feels like the guy who wrote that um, wasn't me. So weird. It's like being in a state like a weird trance. It's kind of the best way to put it. When I sit down and I spend the time to spill out things or try to provide some sort of context within certain experiences that I have had, and I think that's kind of the weird part about it. It's like it's always something that kind of comes with that. And what I've recently learned as a person that writes is a lot of that has been driven in a weird insecurity that I've discovered. I take a lot of pride in what I do, and what I don't want to be remembered by as a person is solely about what I do for a living. I think one of our biggest issues as people, especially in Western worlds, is our occupation determines a lot of value in other people's eyes. And not to sit around and say that money isn't important or going after dreams aren't important or having a set of standards and goals for yourself isn't important. But I think that the hardest part for us to recognize is that we are more than our occupations. We're more than the amount of money that we can accumulate in this life. I know we've all heard the saying, you cannot take a U-Haul with a hearse, and that's not to diminish anybody's dreams or concepts or goals to reach a level of wealth and obtainment of wealth, because money is important, especially in today's time where economy is at an all-time worst, and doing the basic needs for necessities has become a lot tougher, especially for people within our generation, especially the younger generation. I can only imagine what that's going to look like in the next 10 years. So the obtainment of money isn't a bad thing. I think it's very important. I think it's very wise to have those things. I think what I want us to hopefully get to into a point in life is that we're more than our occupation. I've learned a lot of things that I've wanted to do has been rooted in this mentality of I'll show you, and I've mentioned it in previous videos before of having doubt fuel me and having people have different comments about me, be the reason why I kind of go after things. They're kind of having that chip on the shoulder, and I think that's a great thing to have. But I think the other double edged sword to that is once you reach that next step or that goal that you're trying to hit, there's an emptiness that comes with that, and I don't think we talk about that enough. There's an emptiness because there's a void that we were trying to fill in that moment, and I think as I'm wrapping up this book, which will be released in December, I have hit that point again where it's like, okay, experienced something, use that to channel something, created this. This is now coming out for the world to see and being proud of that. But the other end too is how much acknowledgement do I really need to do something that I originally did for self, whether I want to admit that or not. Um, and I think that's the hard part is admitting that, yeah, well, I like to write books for other people. It was definitely rooted in self and the identity of being a writer and the identity and the expectation that I think I've allowed the perception of what an author means that comes with that. And that's the thing, it's answering the question, why do we do the things that we do? And as much as I love to say that I am rooted in deeply want to help people, I can also say in the same instance too that some of my decisions and how I've went about things has been deeply rooted in ego and wanting to be recognized for the work that you do. Um, and the unfortunate truth is that yeah, we all need validation. I think that's kind of how this our life operates. It's a human need of connection to want to feel accepted. The other end is too is that we have to recognize that there's more to validation outside of external validation. We have to have an internal validation for understanding the purity of why we do the things that we do. I think if we sit around looking for self acceptance, not self acceptance, but we sit around looking for acceptance of others and the approval of others, we're going to continuously live down that loop of living a life of that, and that's not a way to live. And I say that to anybody who is, you know, going after any goal right now. Is that you have to find peace in whatever it is that you're doing and be able to live with the results with that. I think one of my biggest faults in this whole process and why it's been so long between this book and my previous book was that I was selfly rooted in a level of perfection that is not realistic. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, when you're writing these things or you're creating something, everybody's not going to like it. Every video that you put out, it's not going to get 100,000 views or a million likes or it's going to be shared. Not everybody's going to support your dream and your vision. Like these are just truths that we have to just understand and recognize. And it's not our fault that we want to be validated. Our entire world and the world that we see today is centered around validation. It's centered around acceptance. It is centered around these feel good moments of dopamine hitting our minds and our bodies every second, every time we get a chance to encounter somebody. So when we deal with that silence that comes with that, we don't know what to do typically 9 out of 10 because we're deeply rooted in some sort of anxiety. Because again, the need of feeling accepted is now driven in the world that we live in today. Uh, and I think that's the beauty of it too is that it's just challenging yourself to really have that awareness to understand it's like why we do the things that we do. And hopefully, my goal is when this book comes out that you find some sort of enjoyment in it and you find some sort of passage or a paragraph that resonates with you. But hopefully, understanding that these are just my words from my experience and not only my experience, but also hopefully it can be used as a tool to help you in your experiences if you have dealt with certain various challenges that comes with that. But the goal is to continuously find a way to improve with self in hopes to not feel validated by the work that I do. And the goal is to continue to be selfless in the things that I like to do instead of trying to be selfishly driven. And yes, I would love to obtain being a best-selling author one day in New York Times and having these book tours. And I it's natural. And I'm not sitting here to diminish those people who have goals, but the thing we have to remind ourselves that we have beauty in anything that we do, rather we get that validation or not. And that's pretty much the moral of this whole video today. Is just to remind yourself that yes, we have goals, we have dreams, we have a deep need and desire to feel accepted and accomplished, not only for ourselves and our self accomplishments, but from others seeing the work that we do, but also understand that there's beauty in the work that you do, whether people are seeing it every day or not, or people are talking about it every day or not. We have some sort of value and service that we are bringing to this world, regardless of anybody says about us, anybody thinks about us. And I just want to remind you that today. that you do bring something valuable, regardless if you post every day, if you post once a year, if you don't post at all, who cares? The people you work with, the jobs that we work, it may not be what we want to do, um, but there is something that we bring into this world, and we have to find a way to channel that and be as selfless in it to really find the beauty of our gifts and talents. So you're valuable, regardless of what people say, and regardless of what the world may think. I appreciate y'all, man. As always, make sure to subscribe to the pod on your favorite audio platform or check me out on YouTube. And I will see you all soon. Until next time, peace.